So you want to get citizenship by descent. Today we're delving into this idea, a method of gaining nationality based on your ancestral lineage. This journey connects you directly with your family's heritage, offering a chance to obtain citizenship from countries your ancestors once called home. Let's explore what this means, how far back you can trace your lineage for citizenship, which countries offer the most extensive generational recognition, and the practical steps involved in this process of citizenship by descent. Also known as jus sanguinis, that's the Latin term for right of blood. It is a legal avenue that allows individuals to claim heritage, claim citizenship from a country based on their ancestry rather than their place of birth. This principle recognizes that your bond to a nation extends through your family lineage, transcending geographical boundaries. This will get you a passport and citizenship from your parents' home countries, your grandparents' home countries, and some countries extend back even further than that. So that's the idea of generational limits. So there are some countries with no limit on how far you can go back. Some have multiple generations, and then other countries have more limited generations, going only maybe one generation up. So starting with no limit countries, Italy is a famous case of a country that allows up to theoretically unlimited generations to receive Italian citizenship. Now, right now in 2025, that is being contested, but that's been a famous case. Hungary also has no generational cap, but you must prove your lineage and possibly demonstrate some cultural or linguistic connection to Hungary. And then multiple generations. Ireland typically allows citizenship by descent up to the grandparents' generation, but there's an opportunity to go further if your parent was registered on the foreign births register before you were born. The Ireland case is worthy of its own episode. Poland is another country that doesn't have a strict generational limit, so they say, but you must demonstrate a continuous bond with Poland. A lot of countries in Latin America as well. El Salvador, Ecuador, Mexico. These countries have the possibility to go multiple generations, even potentially beyond grandparents, as long as you have your paperwork and a direct link, and every subsequent generation gets their citizenship or adopts or claims their citizenship. And then you have countries with limited generations, places like Greece, Bulgaria, Latvia, where they generally recognize citizenship only up to parents or grandparents. Spain and Portugal often limit this to the second generation, although there are exceptions. Germany is even more restrictive, usually only recognizing the first generation, with specific conditions allowing for grandparents in some cases. So some countries only let you go back to parents, not even grandparents, and you'll find that there are regional trends where this is probably more common in Europe and probably Asia as well than other countries. Now, what countries have the furthest lineage that you can go back? Italy was previously the case, but this has actually changed in 2025, worthy of its own dedicated video. As of late March, Italy has indicated they're stopping this unlimited generation thing. And I guess that would make way for Hungary being the country with the furthest you can go back by lineage. It stands out for the lack of generational limits, making them particularly appealing for those with distant Hungarian ancestors. Now, what documentation would be required? Birth certificates are essential for you and each ancestor in the lineage back to qualify, all the way back to the qualifying citizen. Marriage certificates are also needed to connect generations, especially important if surnames have changed through marriage. Death certificates as well are often required if an ancestor has passed away to confirm dates and locations. Passports or naturalization records are necessary as well to prove the citizenship status of your ancestors and any potential loss of that citizenship. All documents will need to be translated into the target country's language and often must be apostilled or legalized. Now let's talk about the timelines. The application processing time in citizenship by descent cases can vary significantly. It really depends on how many generations you're going back. But in Italy, expect a timeline of 6 months to several years, especially if your case is more complicated. Hungary, again, if you're going further back, it's going to take longer, but first, second generation might be resolved in a couple months. A lot of these countries, Mexico is going to get resolved in a couple months. It's very fast. A place like Honduras might take a little bit longer, where you're looking at 6 months to a year or more. So it all depends on the country in terms of how quickly they are processing citizenship by descent cases. So it's country dependent, as well as generation dependent, and how many generations you're going back. So what's the general application process? So number one, you want to research your eligibility, confirm your lineage, and understand the specific country's requirements for citizenship by descent. Then you're going to gather your documentation. You're going to collect, translate, and legalize all necessary documents to prove your ancestry. Then you're going to submit your application. This is typically done through a consulate or embassy of the country you're applying to, or sometimes directly in the country itself. And for different countries, there's a different strategy, meaning, is it faster to apply through the consular system, or is it faster to apply on the ground with a team locally? Some countries will allow you to do both, so you kind of have the option and you can decide which is going to be faster. By the way, MyLatinLife, we're a full-scale immigration consultancy. We help people get citizenship by descent in every country in Latin America. We have teams on the ground in every country in Latin America, and they're going to know what the strategy is for what's going to be fastest and most effective for you to get your citizenship by descent. So if you'd like to work with us, there's a link in the description where you can book a call and we can build you a custom game plan, confirm your eligibility, and put you on a path to getting citizenship by descent. Continuing our discussion of the general application process, you can expect an interview potentially or further verifications. So some countries might want an in-person interview or additional checks to verify your claim. They might want to contact you by WhatsApp or do a phone call or a home visit. But an in-person interview, maybe at the consulate or on the ground in the country, is a very common thing and probably necessary. They might want photos, they might want biometrics that only you can give in person. It's a little bit different for every country. And this is also changing all the time as more and more countries implement the need for biometrics. Then you're going to wait for a decision. So after submission, you'll enter a waiting period while the application is processed, which can result in approval or rejection. But even a rejection can be appealed and appealed. So there's still kind of plan Bs that you can explore with the help of the lawyer. Then you will obtain citizenship. So once approved, you'll receive certification of your new citizenship. Sometimes you'll get a birth certificate, basically like a foreign issued birth certificate. It's kind of a strange concept to North Americans, but you could get basically like a Mexican birth certificate or an Italian birth certificate, things like that. And you also might have to do a swearing in ceremony, but this is less likely for citizenship by descent cases. That's more of a naturalization thing. Often followed by the process of applying for a passport. So once you're a citizen, once you have that certificate issued to you, that's usually going to be the prerequisite to ordering your passport. The passport can often be obtained through the consulate or embassy as well. So we have a lot of cases in Latin America where the citizenship is approved on the ground in the local country, like Honduras or El Salvador, but then you can actually order the passport through the consulate or embassy and have that shipped directly to you in the US. Now let's talk about some challenges. So the big one is proving lineage, which is becoming increasingly difficult the further back that you go. So the more generations, the more difficulties, and the more likelihood of misspellings of names or inconsistencies. And all these inconsistencies would have to be amended or fixed or addressed in some way, or create some level of uncertainty. So the more generations you go back, especially if you have these inconsistencies, it can become a bit more uncertain, but it's always worth pursuing as far as you can, because it's just so worth it to get citizenship by descent. And even if you think records are lost or incomplete, you never know. You might need to check, the church records, or there's always a solution. Then another challenge might be legal changes in countries that can affect eligibility or the documentation that's needed over time. We're seeing this all the time. Countries are making it more difficult to get citizenship by descent. They're asking for more documentation than they were asking for 10 years ago. They're limiting generations in a way that they weren't even 10 years ago. So these things are getting harder. So if you are eligible for citizenship by descent, you need to get on it ASAP. You need to get ahead of the line, because a lot of these countries and consulates, they're backed up in terms of paperwork. And so the quicker that you submit your application, the further ahead in the stack, in the line that you are, the quicker that your application is going to get processed. And like I said, these things change all the time. So if you're eligible now, apply now, because who knows, 5 years from now, you might not be eligible. Countries change their minds all the time. It's crazy, the amount of changes that go on. So apply ASAP and keep those consular backlogs in mind, especially for popular programs like Italy, which can lead to significant delays. So the benefits of citizenship by descent, well, one, intangibly, you gain a profound cultural connection to your heritage. You're going to learn more about your family history if you're going back multiple generations, especially, and it'll allow you to explore and embrace your family's roots. It's a cool thing, and it's an incredible feeling when you finally get that passport in your hands, that your parents or your grandparents, your ancestry, your lineage, get that passport in your hands, get that recognition of that heritage. It's an awesome thing. Citizenship also often comes with rights and responsibilities. So you'll get more visa-free travel privileges around the world. You'll get the right to live in that country if that country is part of an economic bloc. Maybe you'll get even more access. You get access to the whole European Union if you get a European passport. If you get a Central American passport, you get access to 4 countries in that CA4 region. If you have a South American passport by descent, you get access to all of South America. So think about how your country actually plays into a larger trade bloc or mobility zone that gives you even more opportunities as a citizen of that country, right? So for EU countries, citizenship by descent could mean broader opportunities across Europe, including work, study, residency. We tell a lot of families, like, hey, if you get citizenship in Europe as an American family, you could send your kids to university in Europe basically for free. They might even get subsidized and get free money from the government. Whereas in the US, you're spending $60K a year on university, sometimes more these days. And contrast that with just going to equally great European university basically for free. So European citizenship by descent almost makes sense purely just for the opportunity to get to go to great universities all over Europe, basically for free. Some European countries are more free than others in terms of, or like, less expensive education, but it's an absolutely huge benefit. In summary, citizenship by descent is not just about gaining a passport. It's a journey back in time to your family's history, offering a tangible link to your ancestry. Understanding the nuances of each country's laws, the documentation required, and the potential timeline is crucial to navigating successfully this path. Thanks for watching. If you're inspired to explore your lineage, if you think you might have citizenship by descent opportunities based on your parents or grandparents, book a call at the link in the description. Let's talk about it. Let's get you going on the path to obtaining second citizenship by descent. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. Till next time.